So get this, a single attack lasting just 20 minutes, and it was enough to cripple the world's most powerful navy. And no, this isn't some Hollywood blockbuster. This really happened in the Red Sea. And believe me, the fallout is shaking things up in a big, big way. You know, it all kicked off with just 5 missiles fired from Yemen. And look, for the US Navy in the Red Sea, that's practically a Tuesday. It happens all the time. But these 5, these were different. These were about to change everything.
Think about that. 20 minutes. That's all it took. From the first siren to the ship literally vanishing under the waves, what should have been just another routine incident, it spiraled into a total catastrophe.
And the price tag? Brace yourself. $58 billion. Gone. Just like that. But, and this is the crazy part, that's just where the story begins. We're going to break down exactly how this happened, and you'll see why the real cost, well, it goes way beyond dollars and cents. Okay, so let's talk about the ship at the center of all this, the USNS Robert E. Perry. Now, it's really important to get this straight. This was not a warship, not a destroyer, not a cruiser. Think of it as a floating warehouse, a TAK-class dry cargo ship, whose whole job was just to run supplies and keep the fleet armed and ready to go. But see, it's what was inside this floating warehouse that turned this from a problem into an absolute strategic disaster. This thing was packed to the gills with the lifeblood of the fleet. We're talking about the exact missiles the Navy's destroyers rely on to defend not just themselves, but pretty much all the commercial shipping that passes through the area. I mean, the sheer scale of what was lost, it's kind of hard to even wrap your head around. We are talking thousands upon thousands of some of the most advanced interceptor missiles on the planet. The total value? That $58 billion number. And now they're all just sitting at the bottom of the Red Sea. But look, as shocking as that number is, I'm telling you, the real damage here isn't about the money. Not really. To get the true impact, we've got to talk about the one thing you absolutely cannot buy: time. Right, because here's the thing. You can't just hop on Amazon Prime and order up a new batch of these missiles. The real cost, the painful cost, is measured in the time it takes to manufacture them. And frankly, America's defense industrial base, it just can't build them fast enough. Just take a look at the brutal reality of production. At the pace we're making these things now, to replace those 1,200 SM-2s that went down, you're looking at close to a decade. The SM-3s, that's about 6 years. And the evolved Sea Sparrow missiles, the 6,000 of them, that is a mind-blowing 12 years of production, wiped out. Just let that sink in for a second. In 20 minutes, 20, an adversary erased nearly half a century's worth of America's most advanced munitions production. This wasn't just losing a ship. This was a strategic catastrophe on a whole other level. So the big question is, how on earth did they pull this off? How was the attack so devastatingly efficient? Well, let me tell you, this was no lucky shot. This was a brilliantly planned and executed military operation. They used this really clever 1-2 punch. First, they sent in a wave of low-flying cruise missiles. That was the bait. It forced the escorting destroyer, the USS Gridley, to start firing off its interceptors to deal with the immediate threat. But then, while the destroyer's defenses were totally preoccupied, bam! The real knockout blow. 2 anti-ship ballistic missiles came screaming down from the upper atmosphere at more than 5 times the speed of sound. They only needed one to get through, and one did. And when you look at the cost exchange here, you really see the heart of their strategy. It's all about financial attrition. For what was probably just a few $1 million worth of missiles, they took out, well, close to $60 billion of America's most high-tech military assets. The return on investment here it's just staggering. It's almost unbelievable. For every single dollar Iran spent on that attack, they wiped out over $11,000 of American military hardware. I mean, that is the textbook definition of asymmetric warfare, and boy, is it proving to be effective. Okay, so this one attack, this one ship sinking, it immediately created a massive and frankly unsolvable logistics crisis for the entire U.S. Fifth Fleet. All of a sudden, the ships on the front line were basically running on fumes. Their magazines were nearly empty of the exact interceptors they needed just to stay alive out there. And just like that, with their missile stocks way down and their floating warehouse resupply ship at the bottom of the ocean, the Navy found itself in a classic strategic dilemma. You know, one of those situations where every single option you have is a bad one. So, what were their choices? Well, option 1, pull the warships way back to rearm. But that leaves the entire area wide open. Option 2, keep the ships out there with almost no ammo, which is just incredibly dangerous. Or option 3, try to tough it out for 3 weeks until the next supply ship could get there. See? Every single choice was basically a retreat. It was admitting they'd lost control of the situation. And we actually know which path they took, because their actions spoke way louder than any press release ever could. Within hours, U.S. destroyers pulled back hundreds of kilometers, putting a lot more distance between them and the coast. And an amphibious group that was heading into the Persian Gulf, it just stopped, dead in the water. But this next move, this was the real tell. The next supply ship, which was already on its way, completely changed course. It went the long way around Africa. That detour, adding thousands of miles and weeks to the journey, that was a silent admission. An admission that the U.S. Navy could no longer guarantee safe passage for its own ships through the Red Sea. And you better believe that quiet admission of vulnerability sent shockwaves way, way beyond the military. Because let's be real, when the world's most powerful navy can't even protect its own supply ships, the world of global commerce gets very, very nervous. I mean, the Red Sea isn't just some random patch of water. It's a critical artery for the entire world economy. We're talking about 12% of all global trade passing right through there. So by showing they could hit and sink a high-value target like this, Iran essentially proved they could put a stranglehold on that global artery anytime they wanted. The economic fallout was instantaneous. War risk insurance premiums for commercial shipping just skyrocketed. But maybe even more important than that, America's rivals, especially China, were watching every second of this. They were getting a front-row seat, a live-fire demonstration of exactly how to cripple the American military supply chain and completely neutralize its ability to project power. So when you step back, what this whole incident really pulls the curtain back on is a new and pretty unsettling reality of modern warfare. The days of giant fleets lining up to battle each other, those might be fading, and they're being replaced by something a lot more subtle and, honestly, maybe a lot more dangerous. This isn't about winning some big, decisive battle anymore. It's about a war of attrition, but it's one fought on spreadsheets, not on the high seas. It's all about making the logistics, the sheer cost of keeping a military presence somewhere so incredibly expensive, both financially and industrially, that it becomes impossible to sustain. And the sinking of the USNS Robert E. Peary, it leaves us with a really chilling question. In the 21st century, could the world's most powerful military be defeated not on the battlefield, but on the balance sheet?